This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Sam Kwak, and he and his brother came to this country not even really knowing the language or the culture at all, as you would imagine, coming as an immigrant. And we're going to learn about this story and this amazing transformation, because we're also going to share with you today that he and his brother have gone from 0 units to 75 units in 1 year. So we're going to get to all this information. We have a great giveaway for you, and we also have a challenge that you can participate in. Sam, how are we doing today?
Good, and good to be back on your podcast. And I know last time we were here was before the pandemic. And so, yeah, great to be back.
Yeah, so I think the best place to start is you and Daniel's story. I mean, I've always wondered, one of the books that changed my life was Self-Made in America, because John McCormick, who wrote Self-Made in America, posed the question, why is it that immigrants can come into this country and not even know the language and be financially independent within a reasonable length of time, 5-10 years? They're financially independent. When Americans born here on the corner of opportunity and success, and they can't figure out how to get financially free for an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
And they have all the advantages. And what I got from that book was, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, this will be interesting for me, was that I was not sacrificing nearly enough. When I looked at what those immigrants did in that book, how they sacrificed, how they slept on the floor and hid out in the donut shop until they bought it. You know what I mean? Like they would feign going home, they would fake going home, and then they'd come back and they'd eat the leftover donuts and drink the leftover coffee and sleep on the floor till they owned the shop, till they saved up enough money to buy it. And I thought, wow, I'm not even coming close to that kind of sacrifice, and there was example after example after example. And I started to even pretend I was an immigrant, like I was here with nobody, knew no one, knew nothing. I was starting completely from zero. How am I going to make a micro system that can survive right by myself? And I really didn't know the language of business. I knew the English language, but I didn't know the language of how to speak true entrepreneurial. I didn't know that language. I didn't know the language of success. I didn't know a lot of languages. I didn't know how it worked out there.
Yeah.
And I pretended to be an immigrant. So tell me, how did it work for you and your brother?
Yeah. I mean, there's like millions of thoughts that are going through my head right now in terms of like what is the indicator for success for so many. And it's not just that one story, right? I'm sure it's not just an isolated story. You hear, I know somebody else who came from Japan and had no English at all and ended up buying like hundreds of units, like eight years after, and studying like real estate with Japanese to English dictionary in one hand and DVDs and courses on the other hand, and just learning as much as possible. So I'll share my story, and I think maybe you can pick something out here. But I think for a lot of immigrants, the choice to even come here is a massive commitment, right? It's hard to even get on back in the day it was a boat, but now it's get on a plane, show up and not know anybody, not know language, and you're just
the culture,
right?
Or the culture,
exactly, right? And and literally, so this for us, for my brother and I, back in 1999, we immigrated here. I remember like this day, like it's so vivid. December 8th, 1999 is when we set foot on the United States, and part of why and part of the reason why we came here is my family, my parents particularly, wanted to start a church for the Korean American immigrants. And so they felt like they had a calling to be here, and they decided to come here. And when we first made that decision, like everyone else, you have to go get documented, right? Apply for the visa. So what that meant for us is back in Korea, that's where I'm originally from, we would have to go to the U.S. Embassy and apply for a visa to be here, right? You have to, they make sure they background check you. There's, you're not trying to come into the country with a bomb or anything, right? They want to make sure you're legit. So we go through that process, and the particular visa we're getting is a clergy visa, which typically lasts about 5 years. I don't know if they changed any of the rules or not, but we apply once and we get denied. Okay, and then I'm guessing there's like a certain quota of how many visas they're allowed to give out per year, but we get denied. And the second time we apply, we get denied again. Third time we apply, get denied again. So this time, at this point, most people are like, all right, screw it. I gave my 3 tries. I'm done. But my parents were relentless, right? So 4th try, 5th try, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10, and 11th try, they're denied. Each time we get basically a letter in the mail saying, hey, we're not in. But interestingly, biblically speaking, like number 12, on that 12th attempt, the United States government approves their visa, and we finally make it. And that just happens to be around December as well. So something out of that as well, like just even that journey of coming here and setting our foot into the United States and applying for the visa, it takes massive commitment and tenacity to even go that far. So as a young kid, even for me, and I was 6 years old at the time, I'm fully aware of what's happening. And I learned from my parents, if you are that committed to doing something or going somewhere or achieving your vision or dream, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep on pumping that gas and make sure you put enough reps to achieve your goals. So we make it here. We live in we're living in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, 800 square feet for a family of 4. We made the dining room an extra bedroom, and that's what we're doing. And so the one skill that my parents did have, so my dad's a church pastor, but my mom, she taught piano in Korea. So that was the only skill that she had coming here. And I remember like 2 or 3 months later, she found her first student. And then a couple of weeks later, she gets a referral and finds another student. So like soon, a year or two later, she now has like 20 students paying her money to teach her piano. And that's how we basically lived. That was our income for the first 2 to 3 years. But that's the beauty, Mitch, is that if you have skills, if you have something to offer to the society, if you can create value, money comes. And that's the beautiful thing about America.
Did your mom speak English?
Barely. And that's a big disadvantage that she had, was she only worked with Korean kids. So how she had the language, a very
limited market, didn't she?
Exactly. It's like this small of a market to be able to go after.
Of course, she was pretty important to the ones that needed her.
Yeah, 100%. So the Korean population here in Chicago, it's like, I think less than 200,000. It's got to be less than that. It's probably close to 80,000 or 100,000. So you imagine, like, the market's limited, yet she's still built a pretty powerful business where, our family we were taken care of, and that gave us enough time for my dad to really get the church going. And so that's the beautiful thing, is you come here with a skill, and you don't even have to know the language, and yet you can make a living for yourself. I mean, it's that easy. And I think part of why people struggle with becoming an entrepreneur, finding their success, is it's one of those things. And you probably heard the saying, Mitch, when something's so easy, it's hard to do it, right? It's I don't know the exact quote, but it's like, when something's so easy, it's easy to forget or easy to not start. So, it's weird because I look at my peers that were born here, grew up here, has ancestors or grandparents that are from, that were here for a while. And I'm like, dude, you have so much advantage over immigrants. You know the language, you have people, you didn't have to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, like I did to get started. You have so much of a head start, like do something with it. You got so much resource. So what I've come to find out is that a lot of people tell me like the American dream is dead. No, it's not, right? I think the American hustle is dead, right? The willingness.
Exactly, the hustle. So because what I learned from that book, also what I gathered was that it was all in the reach for me, but I wasn't sacrificing enough. And number 2, I was taking this country for granted.
Right.
I mean, the people that came here, some of the people in that book, Self-Made in America by John McCormick, I mean, they came from places of genocide. They slept on dirt floors. They didn't have running water. They didn't have all this stuff, you know, and they also were minus the United States sales propaganda machine, which was you need a boat and you need it now. You need a motorcycle and you need it now. You need a camper and you need it now. And you need a vacation and you need it now. And you need, you know what I mean? Like that constant barrage of get it now and pay for it later, which was basically indenturing yourself to servitude to debt.
Right.
Credit cards, you know, or whatever it was, you know, you need a house and you need it now. I mean, you know, so after reading that book, I decided that I was going to re-up my commitment so high, my sacrifice to earn what I wanted. I was going to sacrifice so much that a lot of people weren't going to understand me or agree. And it was true. People like, what are you doing? So, well, I'm doing what I need to do to get where I need to go. And I can't afford all this stuff. And I'm not going to do all these things because I don't make that much money to do it right now. And then I was also going to not take this country for granted, go back and say, the American dream is alive for me. I've seen it through those other people in that book. It's just, I'm so close to it, I couldn't see it. You know, couldn't see the forest for the trees. You know, the immigrants, a lot of the immigrants, I'm not saying that you maybe came from that environment, but a lot of the immigrants were coming from infrastructures where there was no way to get ahead at all. And even if you did, someone would come take it all from you. And I just had to realize that that's not where I was. I was born. I was the luckiest guy in the world. I was born right here. Right. But it had its disadvantage because I was born right here and I was taking it for granted.
Yeah. Well, you get so comfortable that like, you just don't want to leave it. Like I've learned, you know, people are either moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure. Like it's weird because like most people are just in the dead smack middle. Like they don't have enough pain to move them and they don't have enough pleasure to like push them towards that. So a lot of people are just drifting, right? They're just, I have a good, I've been able to connect with a guy named Russell Brunson lately. And that's his big thing is like people are either drifting or they're advancing, right? They're driven by faith and they're constantly moving forward to something. So, you know, and you're absolutely right, Mitch. Like a lot of the countries, especially the really poor Asian countries, you know, whether it's from India or Philippines, like a lot of the social construct there is designed so that the rich always stays rich and then the poor always stays poor, or that trying to climb there's a lot of, you're met with a lot of resistance, or you have to invest so much in education, so much in just, I mean, there's a lot to be able to get to that level. You know, and here in the United States, you see stories like Mark Zuckerberg, who starts Facebook in his dorm room and now is billionaire. You got Jeff Bezos, who literally writes the business plan for Amazon, sells books, and then ultimately that becomes a mega e-commerce empire. Like nowhere in the world can you ever achieve, like even advance that close. So, I mean, it's insane to me that people tell me, oh, you know, people are getting repressed here or people are oppressed here. Like, no, I can't get ahead. Well, look around, look at the immigrants. So back to my story, you know, I mean, there's so much more because like there's stories of us like sleeping in the van because we can't pay for the heating bill. There's stories where we're going out and picking dandelion leaves because we don't have food. There's a lot. I mean, I'm sure a lot more people have struggled more than I have, but
but this is interesting. Keep going. I want to hear more of that. I think Americans need to hear more of that. You know, you're picking dandelion leaves because you don't have anything to eat.
Which, by the way, is very nutritious.
Apparently, you can eat dandelion leaves, right?
It's really good for you. I'm telling you right now, if you want to get on some kind of diet and it's free, you pick some dandelion leaves, put some ranch on it, you're ready to go, baby. But that's come on now, you know, you got to make use of nature. But I mean, that's just the mentality of a lot of these people that from poor countries that you don't have anything to eat. So,
okay, so I bring up an interesting point because after reading that book and a couple other books and talking to some people and having a few other revelations, I mean, I decided to take having a job off the table, that I have to I have no real hardship. So I have to create my own hardship to find out what my body and my mind are going to do about it. So I take having a job off the table. Like, I cannot have a job, and I back myself into that corner.
That's great.
I had to have, like, the weakest link was, it was real easy. It would have been real easy to say yes and take a job. But if I say yes and take the job, I never find out what I'm made out of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never said yes to the job.
Right.
And I almost forced myself to go eat dandelion leaves, except I didn't know that I could eat them, or else I would have eaten them.
Right.
But, you know, a guy said to me one time, he was a POW for 2 years in Castro's prison over in Cuba. He got captured as a freedom fighter in the Bay of Pigs. And he was held as a traitor to his country, where they didn't do very nice things to him every day. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, you know, like, how do you survive that? I mean, because you don't know how many days it's going to be. Right. I mean, if you knew it was only 2 years, you could, like, mark off the days and you could make it. But you don't know how long it's going to be. He said, the human body is the most adaptable thing in the world. And if you give it just enough water and just enough protein, the body will figure everything out. If you can keep your wits about you, keep your mind, keep from going insane, keep from breaking. Right. So I believed him, and I was scared to go on my own. And I thought, what's the chances I'm not going to get enough water in San Antonio, Texas? Nice, clean,
right?
Not 0% chance that I'm going to not get enough. What's the chance I'm not getting enough protein? 0% chance. You know, so all I got to do is keep my mind from taking a job, and that's basically what I did. Slept, did whatever I had to do. Slept on the floor, ate rice and beans, whatever I had to do.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, the immigrants are almost forced to start a business because, well, where are they going to go get a job? I mean, they submit a resume. They don't have any education, no language. There's no cultural fit. So instinctively, like the only thing we can do is just start a business, right? We go create customers.
And maybe that's the saving grace. I mean, I didn't go to college. No one wanted, the reason I decided not to get a job is no one wanted to pay me what I was worth because I didn't have a freaking piece of paper.
Right. And it's
I didn't have the piece of paper.
Right.
And so that's when I decided I had the glass ceiling, and maybe not having college was my greatest accomplishment, because if I'd have had college, I might have gotten the $150,000 a year job and never gotten out of it.
Right. 100%.
And so I know guys that have come from Mexico right now, they cannot read or write, but they are very successful people. You know, you don't think about that. You don't know how to read or write, or you don't know the language. It doesn't mean you have to spend all the time learning the language or learning how to read or write. Maybe you just learn how to function around that problem by having someone with you that does know how to read or write. Right. I mean, it could be that simple, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, moving along. I mean, so we basically do that for 5 years, and we're progressing. We're building up our. My parents are income's increasing, and you know, we're able to move into a bigger apartment. Things are better until it's 2000. I want to say late 2007. So we knew that our visa was going to expire, and we kind of got prepared for it. We hired an attorney to represent us to actually either extend that visa or to apply for a permanent residency. And we hired the attorney, and I don't even remember the name of the attorney, but basically that attorney screwed up, and our visa lapses. And in 2007, we get a notice basically saying that we're due for deportation. And it was a huge push back in 2006, 2007 to deport all the illegals and stuff. So we were one of the lists. And we thought, we're like, oh, our attorney's going to take care of it. No, don't worry. The attorney's going to go and make sure he or she's going to make this right. And nothing happens. And we end up showing the court, and we had to hire a whole nother attorney. And there's and it's not a simple thing where you just show up to court and there's a decision. You have to go back and go like there's a new court date, and it's just like a process where it gets dragged along for almost a year. And it's not until late 2008, we finally get to the judge, And the judge realizes, yeah, there has been filings and there's some errors made by the attorney and different things. And so we pretty much got grandfathered, and the judge actually granted us a pathway to citizenship, because clearly he saw the lawyer screwed up, and that we actually did the right thing. So
doesn't seem like he screwed up. It seems like he just screwed you, like a lot of those attorneys.
Oh, for sure. A lot of attorneys do screw you. So careful, make sure you get the right attorney. But I was very grateful that I got to stay, because I would not have adjusted well going back to Korea. And thank God that I did. And in 2010, part of this was I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do in my life, but at the same time, something in my blood wanted me to do this. But I ended up joining the United States military in 2010, and that's right dead smack middle of my high school year. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So the military was a great option for me. But the military taught me a whole lot of discipline, a whole lot of hard work. And on top of the immigration work ethic that I had, I added military work ethic. So it was like, I was supercharged, right? So come back from military as a reserve. So I switched to the Army Reserve, and it was in middle of college, I decided to start a business. Because I didn't even realize that you can start a business until like I got to college. I'm like, I want to start a business. And it wasn't until 2014, I discovered this whole idea of real estate investing. Read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, right, by Kiyosaki. And I was blown away. I'm like, holy smokes. Like I didn't even realize that this world existed. The word entrepreneurship, I didn't even know that word existed until I was 19 years old. Right. I mean, way to go. Public education. Right. What a joke. Right. Like it's a joke. It's a joke. Cause like all throughout my public education, elementary school, junior high, high school, never heard that word before. No one told me that word existed. And here I am. I just discovered that word when I was at the age of 19. And I was just blown away. Like this was an option, and no one told me that it was, right? The only option I had was go to the military, get a trade, or go get a corporate job, right? That was the only thing. But until the fourth option it presented to me, like this was it, right? I was looking at this and saying, even telling my brother, like, I think we need to start a business. So 2014 is we find out about this whole real estate investing thing. And it was literally the vision, the city on a hill, right? And, being 21 and my brother was 19 or 20 at the time, we didn't have any money, right? We were flat broke, no credit. Our last names are not Donald Trump and Rockefeller, right? We had zero money, and people were laughing at us too, by the way. They're like, oh, what do you kids know? Like getting into real estate. A lot of people were laughing at us and pretty much criticized our credibility. But yet I was still determined. I was like, you know what? I know what I've been through. I've seen what's possible. We're going to make this happen. We are going to make it happen somehow, some way. It's going to be just a matter of time. We're going to put enough pressure and energy into this that we're going to break through. So, my brother and I at that point were so obsessed. We're watching videos about YouTube. We're reading books about real estate. We're watching YouTube videos about real estate. Start buying courses with money that we didn't have. We're just swiping credit cards to get courses and coaching, mentoring, going to community local events and seminars. It was basically just eat, sleep, real estate, and repeat. It was just that for 3 years. In fact, I remember also skipping school sometime or classes in college because I wanted to go to the next seminar. Like that was more important to me than actually going to school. And my GPA my GPA completely tanked. That my senior year, because I just was not focused with schoolwork. So, and another irony to that, Mitch, is I took a course called entrepreneurship in my senior year. I got a D, and here's how I deserved that D. This is funny. We were expected to write a 30-page report, and I didn't want to because it was too much time. So I hired someone from Philippines to write that paper for me. So that I can focus on my real estate business. And here I was delegating, building teams, and that's how I got a D in entrepreneurship. It's still a D, delegating and doing everything an entrepreneur should do, probably way ahead of your classmates, right? Oh, 100%.
They're out there writing every word themselves. And
right. And here I paid
an entrepreneurship that figured out how to sub out the report.
Exactly.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And here I paid a Filipino, and it's crazy. This Filipino person got an MBA, and I was paying that person like $5 an hour to write me a paper on like a business report. And so like I ended up paying like maybe $20, $25 because, you know, it doesn't take that long for that person to write, I'm sure. And I turned it in, and clearly it's not my report because, you know, the teachers see my professors see my reports before, completely different person. Right. So I get a D on that, but I was more so focused on my real business, like this actually starting a business instead of pretend businesses. So it was 2017. I graduated from college in 2016. 2017, we had a massive breakout year, and we met. And I think the crucial thing here is, like courses and books and videos helped a lot. I think that's a great way to get started, to at least be aware of what you know and what you don't know. But it wasn't until we actually connected with people in our area that's pretty much like you, Mitch. I mean, they were just killing it. You know, they're doing hundreds of units each year. You know, they got syndication funds going, and they're fixing and flipping 20 houses at a time. I mean, crazy people out there, and we were connecting with them, and we learned, we shadowed, we're trading skills. At one point I was working for an individual for free to shadow and learn, and to sit in his office and like listen to the phone calls and really connect all the dots. So in 2017, we ended up partnering with one of the individuals that we were working for free, getting, you know, mentored essentially. And it was one particular deal that completely changed my mindset. And that's all it takes, is just one deal to completely change everything. And that deal was, we found a portfolio of 4 single family houses, and we ended up negotiating for owner financing and 10% down, and which the 10% down ended up being like $15,000. So we ended up actually getting that $15,000 because we didn't have any money. We ended up getting that $15,000, and we raised that money from a family friend that actually ended up being a partner with us. So, and that person still is a partner of ours. And that's how we got in, and we created cash flow. We got a piece of that deal, and that changed the trajectory. It increased my confidence from like here to like here.
Well, you just did a deal with none of your own money. You went from having zero to not, and you didn't have any money, and now you're not worth zero anymore. You have an asset now,
right?
Some assets, and you did it all with no money. And that's a revolutionary breakthrough for anybody. I remember my first one, you know, I accidentally did it. And then I accidentally bought a house on a credit card and thought, well, you know, because in 96 houses in my town were 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 in the lesser parts of town. And you say you're on your way home real happy with the deal you made. And then you think, I did that with no money. If I could do it one time with no money, I could do it 1,000 times with no money.
100%. Yeah. So that's what I realized. And that was a huge groundbreaking moment. So from there, we bought the 4 unit and then bought a 3 unit the same exact way, raised money for it, negotiated for earned financing. And then we went a little bit bigger. We did a couple of flips along the way with other people's money as well. I thought it was fun just flipping homes and seeing that come alive. And then we ended up buying, I think we went from that to buying an 8 unit and a 36 unit and a 24 unit. It just kept coming. Like it's the same cycle over and over. Cause like once you do that one deal, and you use other people's money and it goes really well, it becomes so much easier to raise money. Cause now that person is like referring you people like, hey, you should go talk to my Uncle Joe. Hey, you should go talk to my coworker who's got, you know, $500,000 sitting and doing nothing. So that's how we got that 1 year from January 1st, 2017, 0 units, 0 properties. And at the end of 2017, we had actually more than 75 units. It just sounds better to say 75. But we had more than 75 rental units just from that. And we stayed disciplined. We focused. We didn't do anything else. We didn't party. We didn't take the money and run. We stayed very vigilant and focused on just doing the same discipline.
You had 75, 77, 78 units, whatever, but 75, right. I understand, because you have a book that you're giving away. It's called 0 to 75 units in 1 year. And so if you guys are interested in reading about this book and how they did it, go ahead and go to 1000houses.com/units, UNITS. That'll take you to the show notes. If we talk about something on this podcast, this episode right here, it'll be over in the show notes at 1000houses.com/units. And don't forget, he did a little over 70 houses, but he also did some flips. So that wasn't the 75 units wasn't just the whole year. I mean, it wasn't the whole year. There was things in between, but their focus was on, and this is what I want to applaud you for catching on to so early. Your focus was on the cash flow, not the cash.
Right.
I love so many people get addicted to that, to the big check or the check, cash.
Yeah, the wholesaling and all that.
I don't give a damn about money in the bank. What I want to know is how much is coming in on the first.
Right.
Because the bigger that number gets, the more I can spend, because whether I spend 25% of it or 50% of it or all of it, it's all getting replaced on the first.
Right.
It's replenishing on the first.
100%.
And on and on and on and on and on and on, So I've never, my banks have always said to me, when are you going to leave some money in the bank? And I'm saying to them, why? How much do you want me to have? They say 500,000. I said, so you want me to take $500,000, and I'm young in my career, 5-6 years into my career. You want me to leave $500,000 sit making less than 1%?
Yeah. No.
Don't make any sense to me.
Well, I mean, that's where the banks win, because they can take that deposit and make more money for themselves. But so that's the journey, Mitch. I mean, if we can do it, so I think anyone can. This is probably the biggest thing I drill even to my own students and some of the people I work with is like, there's nothing that's stopping you. There's no law or regulation that tells you, you can only have 10 units a year, right? There's no law or regulation that tells you can't raise money, right? Zero, like free enterprise, baby. So most of it just comes down to personal belief, or people just don't believe that it's possible to go from zero to whatever. I think more people can go do better than us, clearly, but I'm just saying it's possible.
No, it's an impressive story. No one's, that's what I always try to tell people too. I bought a house every 4 to 5 days for 2.5 decades. Somewhere down the street, someone that bought 10,000 houses a minute. It's not about that. But there's a lot of people, there's a ton of people out there that would like to be able to accomplish what you accomplished in 1 year. Now, it's a little deceiving because you had a lot of groundwork in before that year started.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of work of learning, right? Because we started in 2014. So it was 3 years of just constantly watering my tree, right? And the tree being a metaphor to my knowledge and the business, but it is a constant. But what's interesting is that you hit a threshold where it just like, it clicks and it's just like a waterfall of just never ending success. So I'll tell you what, it's kind of like, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but this is how a bamboo tree grows. Okay. If you take a bamboo tree, you plant it, you water it, you water it, you water it. And for the first 3 years, it doesn't grow. I mean, barely little, you can't even see it. Most people will say, yeah, I think my bamboo tree is broken.
It's growing a root system under the surface, right?
Right. And then, but on the 4th year, it shoots 20 feet. It's crazy how that works. So it just like a bamboo tree. In fact, the reason why I actually grow a bamboo tree right here behind me is to remind me every time I walk into the office, hey, patience, put in your work, put in your grind. And then when you zoom out, you're going to see the product. You're going to see the 20 feet shoot that you had. So most people don't give enough attention and time, the energy and the amount of grind that they have to do. And it's, I know some people, it's hard to have that confidence or to see the momentum, but it's usually on that 3rd or 4th year, something happens. It's like a dam that breaks. And I don't know, it's that magic number. I hear that all the time is the 3rd year for most people, that's where they break and just completely dominate. So, yeah. So you lost a lot of people right there where you said it took about 3 years to get ready. And then in that 4th year, you got your one, you went from 0 to whatever. We probably lost a lot of people right there. So, 3 years. Yeah.
Well, and that doesn't really mean that it has to take them 3 years. My God, you came from the biggest deficit in the world. You didn't know the language, didn't know the culture, didn't know the laws, didn't have a network, don't know anybody from anybody. I mean, it really, if it took you 3 years, I would say some people could do it in a year or a year and a half.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Maybe do it in 6 months, maybe.
The fastest way, I think, right now, if people want the shortcut, and just looking back, I can tell you what the shortcut is find someone that is good at what you want to do and pay them to teach you whatever they got to teach you to get you successful. Like just last year, I think I spent close to 6 figures in accessing networks, learning, coaching, mentoring. I paid close to, I mean, I won't say the number, but I paid 5 figures just to get into a mastermind, right? So that I can meet the people there, learn from people there. And the people in this mastermind, they're doing 8 figures, 9 figures, just killing it. And so I want to know their secrets, what they're doing, and what made them successful, so that I can take that principle and learn and do it myself. That's the fastest way to growth in my experience. So if you're stuck, if you feel like you're not getting where, or you're in a rut, the fastest way is find someone who's more successful or is doing, is killing it at what you want to do, and find them and follow them around like a shadow. That's the fastest way to learn. Yes, I agree 100%. So again, if you want to get the free book, 0 to 75 units in 1 year, go to 1000houses.com/units. And also, we're going to be talking about a challenge that you're presenting. Tell us about this challenge. Yeah. So my brother and I are getting ready to launch a challenge. It's a 5-day challenge designed to help you and teach you to find deals. Because I think that's probably the biggest thing I hear right now from a lot of real estate investors who are just getting started, or maybe they've been in the game for a while, is they keep telling me, Sam, I can't find the deals. I don't know where to find the deals. So we've created a 5-day challenge where in 5 days, we're going to show you how to find the deals, step by step, baby steps, right? It's the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. And we're going to show you how to find as many deals as possible in those 5 days. And that's also going to be in the show notes as well. I'll agree. Never been more competition out there. It's never been harder to find deals. But that being said, this year, 2022, we kick off January with 25 acquisitions. And then in February, another 15. We're used to buying about 100 houses a year, every year for the last 2.5 decades, 2.5 plus decades. So about 100 houses a year, about 2,500 houses in my career, in and about my hometown. But for some reason, and I can tell you what it is. In one of the toughest environments out there, we're probably going to have a record-breaking year. Wow. And it has everything to do with what you were talking about earlier. Our 3 acquisition guys have now been around 4, 5, and 6 years. There it is. Okay. Yep. They've built network. They've built relationships. They've learned what works. They've learned what doesn't work. They've grown into their own skin, how to negotiate. Everyone has to negotiate different how they feel. You have to make the negotiation yours, how you do it, and figure out how that works. We all have a little bit more money in our pocket than we did when we started, so budgets can be a little bit bigger. Right. You know what I mean? A lot of different reasons why. Someone just asked me, how come you're going to have a record year in one of the toughest years, it seems like, for everybody? And I had to think about it for a minute. But that's why. We've laid 4, 5, and 6 years worth of groundwork with the people in the system. Right. The youngest guy is 4 years at it. And he actually made the most last year, the youngest guy. The other 2, of course, the other 2 take on some other tasks for us and are a little more focused on cash flow. Sometimes you take a cut and pay when you're trying to rack up cash flow. You have to understand that. Yeah, if you're going to go for income that comes in, whether you get out of bed or not, it might be a little slower than just flipping something for cash. You might have to take a little back step to the big check every now and then, or for a little while, if you want to really truly get free. Because the flipping and the rehabbing and the wholesaling, unless you learn how to systematize it and get above it, then it's just a job.
a glorified job where you are 100% recipient of what goes right, but you're also 100% recipient of what goes wrong. And usually not enough time to really have a life, because the more volume you do, the less time you'll have to live in enjoying it. So there's got to be this mix, where people say wholesaling's a job. Well, it is, but there are people out there that can teach you how to wholesale from a cruise ship. But it's going to take about a year to get that set up, probably. I mean, I know when I tried to get out of my business, it took 15 months for me to back myself all the way out the front door and out into the street and in my truck and down the road. It took me 14 months. But now, I'm buying houses right now. What are we doing, Sam? We're talking. Do I look like I'm buying houses right now? I am.
Yeah, but you got a system.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah. So again, I want you guys to get a hold of this book. What's it called? It's a free book to listen to a man who went from 0 to 75 houses in less than a year. And he came to this country and didn't know the language, Maybe you ought to go through this book. It only takes 1 or 2 sentences sometimes from somebody in a book to alter your path or to change the way you think.
Right.
We call it the nugget. I read a book, I'm looking for a nugget. And you don't have to ask when the nugget happens. The nugget will tell you it just happened.
Yeah, right? It just happens. Yeah.
You'll slap your forehead and go, holy, that changes everything. I never thought of it like that. Or, ooh, I finally understand. Or I get it now. Because someone said it in some words that were in the order that you could grasp, or that touched you or reached you through all your all your limiting beliefs and everything that you have. Something got through. And
100%.
I just love your story, man. I love your story. I kind of feel kind of kin, but I in no way had your hardship. But honest to God, I got down and I started to imagine myself as an immigrant. Like nobody owes me. I don't know anything. I don't have anything. I gotta bring something up out of the ground. I got to bring something out of thin air. I got to make it happen. And there's no one to turn to. I cut everybody else off. I had to go forge it myself. And I really did try to view myself as an immigrant, which was, in my opinion, the immigrant that I was trying to emulate was the one that came not feeling like anything was owed to them, but came for the chance to live a dream. If they would put out enough, if they would give up enough, if they would persevere long enough, and I made up my mind one day that I would. Significantly different than yours. You had nothing to go but forward. I had all the and I had to go throw it away. I had the car, I had the house, I had to go throw it all away to start over. So yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a good saying in the Bible, right? Those who want to gain their life will lose it. Those who want to lose their life will gain it.
Yes, and I do notice this about you too. You're Christian-based. The greatest self-help book ever written. As a matter of fact, every self-help book that's ever been written copied out of the Bible 1,000%. Here's the good news.
Right.
The good Lord wants you to copy it, right? You can even take credit for it if you want. But it was said 2,000 years ago.
Right.
It was all done. You want to know what your problem is or how to fix your problem, it's always been there. You can read it written in a different book if you want to, or with a different cover, with a different author, but it all came from the same place. They're universal truths.
Yeah, 100%.
So tell us about the challenge again. We got a little off track. So you got the challenge. So what do? They're going to go to 1000houses.com/units. We're going to have a segment there, how you can sign up for this challenge. Tell me, does it cost? Is it free? What can people expect?
Yeah. So by the time it's out to you guys, it will be a paid challenge. But here's the thing. If it's more of a fee of a commitment. So what that means is that you get in, and what we don't want to happen is we don't want you to get started and then you start day one and then day two rolls around, like nothing happens. You put it on the shelf and it's gone. It's in the void or eternal bliss or eternal abyss. That's what it is. That's what we want to avoid. So we want you to have a financial commitment, because we know that way you're going to finish and you're going to start. And the guarantee we make is that if you don't find a single lead from that challenge, we give you all your money back. That's it. Like you got to have done it.
How much is it?
Yeah. So right now we're going to launch at 37, but we may increase it to 47. So you may want to get started as soon as possible.
$37. not
Yes.
3,700. $37.
No.
Okay.
$37.
Okay, I agree. It's a nominal, it's a crazy, stupid low fee. It's like if you don't want to pay $37 to learn how to get some leads, we just assume you not get involved.
Oh, yeah.
To put it harshly, you can't say it because you're silent, but I'll say it for you. If you don't want to pay 30, that's like, you know, if you don't want to pay $37 to learn how to get some leads with a guarantee that if you don't get at least one lead, you get your money back. We rather you wait till you're a little more ready to get into the business. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, some of you spent more in your dinner date last time.
Yeah. How much did that pay you?
Paid 30 cents for wine.
I have a book called My Life in 1,000 Houses, The Art of Owner Financing, which I go and describe in detail what I'm paying for my houses and how I'm seller financing to my buyers and how I'm making money seller financing my buyers and creating a cash flow without having to be a landlord and have any liabilities to speak of. And that book is $50. And I've had people get mad at me that my book, why are you charging so much for this book? And it's like, I say, I get real calm, especially the madder they are, the calmer I get. I say, look, set the book down, set it down on the table. Okay, take your hands off of it. Okay, now back up. You're not ready for this book. You don't understand. There's $1 million in that book and you're bitching about $50.
Right.
One single idea in that book will make you $10,000, easy.
Right.
So you don't want to pay. And the reason why I set my price at $50 for that book is that book can be used to hurt a lot of people if you're not a fair guy, right? If you're not committed to the business, you can even inadvertently mess people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just figured if you're not serious enough to pay $50 for the book, I don't think you're serious enough about that one strategy. Maybe you should just stay out of it,
right.
Because you got to have a commitment to learn how to do these things right. Because when you don't do things right, not only could you hurt yourself, but you could hurt people that don't even, if you do something wrong, you deserve to get a slap or have a little thing go wrong, but you're hurting people that didn't know any better, that you brought in, you know what I mean? So I really, really don't like that. And that's why these laws and regulations get passed and stuff, is because people don't study up enough before they start some of this stuff. By the way, while we're on that subject, I'm going to plug Texas100.org. If you're a real estate investor and you're making money in this industry, please support Texas100.org. We have the lobbyists that are going to Washington to find out the laws they're proposing. It's been a lot about Dodd-Frank and seller financing lately, but don't wait till they start coming out for rent controls or something to try to get on board. We got to get way ahead of these things. So Texas100.org is looking for 100 real estate investors to pay $1,000 a year. So we have 100 times 1,000 is 100,000. So we can hire a lobbyist to watch all the rules and regs that they're trying to pass and everything they try to do when it comes to real estate investing.
Yeah. And now, Mitch, do you have to be a Texan for that?
No, you don't. You don't.
Okay. Oh, wow.
In fact, you could model after us and start Oklahoma 100.org. You know what I mean? Or I don't care. There's some people talking about Georgia wants to do it, but you've got, because normally what happens, one state falls and then the next states start to fall and they start using the same language. Right.
Oh, it starts with California and then it goes to New York. And
New York started rent controls. Watch it start working its way down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Texas100.org. That's Texas100.org. Go there. If you can't pay the $1,000, pay whatever you can. But we're really looking for 100 Texas investors for $1,000 a year. If you're successful in this business, it's nothing. It's nothing to be appraised of just the whispers of what they're talking about legislating.
Right.
We'll get in that early. The saying is, if you are not at the table, you are on the table, which is to say, if you're not in the negotiations of how this law is going to be written, then you're just going to be written out of existence. Be careful. All right, my friends, get the book, 0 to 75 units in 1 year at 1000houses.com/units. Also, take the challenge of how to generate leads. If you don't get at least one lead, they'll refund your money. Right now it's $37. They reserve the right to change their price anytime they want, maybe 47 or 4,700. They have the right to change it whenever they want. Right now, it's a measly $37. Why don't you go over there and sign up for it? If you do not get one lead from this 5-day experience, then they will gladly refund your money. That's what he said. That's what he said, right?
Yeah, I said it. Yep.
And so I don't know how you lose on this. If you get one lead, now if you don't convert the lead, you can't blame that on them. It's did you get a viable lead? You know,
right?
If you get a viable lead, what you do is after that. But I suppose if you get one viable lead from it, you can use the same tactics to get many, many more leads and go way beyond the 5 days. They're just trying to get you fired up here, you know?
100%. That's it.
You focus for 5 days, show you what can happen, and then it's up to you. All right, my friend, anything you want to tell the audience before we wrap it up here?
No, I think that's just about it. And the big thing I want everyone to walk away with is that there is no disadvantage that is present in this country. There's none. There's just zero. I think that's a lie and it's an excuse for people to sit around, do nothing and be comfortable. But yeah, don't buy into it. In fact, I've recently realized that the goal of life is not to be comfortable. It's not. It's a fallacy you fall into. To be comfortable in life is to give, contribute, and grow. And that is uncomfortable, to give, to contribute, and to grow as a person.
And I would like to point out, to me, those 3 words have a forward motion to them. You're moving forward. And I will say, in my humble opinion, there is no neutral. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. I mean, you think you're neutral when you're sleeping. You're not. If you don't get up you're burning energy. You don't get up at some point, you'll starve to death. You know, you're moving backwards. Even in your deepest sleep, you are progressing backwards. And so there is no neutral. Certainly there is no neutral in your finances. You're either making more or you're losing. There is no I broke even. I mean, maybe for a split second you're even, but then the needle teeters one way or the other because it never stays right there. It can't stay right there because everything's always deteriorating from your own body. Your last meal that you had, everything's always deteriorating. So there's no neutral. If we're going to get into a discomfort, let's get in one moving forward. Let's be uncomfortable moving forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
Right?
100% agreed.
Man, I love you, Sam. You're a great guy. I can't wait to see you and your brother again. You're in Chicago, right?
Yeah. And actually, Mitch, a little interesting fact. In 3 years, I have plans to move down to Texas. So we're looking at Dallas, Fort Worth area to be able to uproot from.
Good. Bring your guns. We're going to need them.
Yeah. I got a few. I got a couple thousand rounds and some ration, emergency food, all kinds of stuff. So we'll rock. Okay,
so if you ever make it to San Antonio or when you make it to San Antonio, please look me up personally. Stay on the call when we're done. I'll give you my phone number. Maybe
all right, perfect.
Come visit me.
All right.
This is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com. Again, that link is 1000houses.com/units. Make sure you get your free book and make sure you take advantage of the 5-day challenge on getting leads. I would like to thank livecom.com, livecom.com. It's all about capturing your prospects' incoming calls cell phone number and being able to text that and how to use that to generate leads. I generate a ton of leads because when I put out signs, I put out free recording. When I put out ads, I put free recording or whatever I put out, I use a smartphone number. And when someone calls my smartphone number from a cell phone, it captures their cell phone number. They are now a prospect of mine. So technically they are my customer now. They've called me. I didn't call them. I'm not cold calling or cold texting. They contacted first. And now I can show you all kinds of ways to do that. Livecom and the smartphone number system has transformed my house sales into 4 days on the market, and I use no signs. I don't use one sign, not even a sign in the front yard, and I sell my house in 4 days. All that's to do with smartphone numbers and the Livecom system, LIVECOMM.com. Check it out. All right, we're out of here, boys and girls.
All right, see you guys.
Episode. See you, Sam.